Hi, everybody. Welcome to my session on jumping into conversation AI. And today I'll be talking about Alexa. So just a few things. Hi, my name is Sachi Garg. I work for Accenture. I am available online everywhere as Garg Suchi. And when I say everywhere, I mean on D.O, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, all of these places I am available as Garg Suchi. So in case you want to get in touch with me, please go ahead and get in touch with me using my handle. I work, as I said, I work with Accenture and I live in Melbourne, Australia. I have been working with Drupal since 2006, Drupal 4.2 or 3. So it has been a long time. And I currently am working in leading Drupal projects and also helping in training and hiring and mentoring. My slides are available here. If you see the URL, I have converted into a tiny URL, so tiny.cc/gargsuchi, so it should be easy for you to find my slides if needed. It is possible that I have not yet shared them. I'll share them immediately after the session. Another very quick thing, as we see that all our questions are within the chat and they keep on rolling very quickly. So in case you have a question during the session, please start with Q:, so that it's easier for me to find the question. Yes, that's the URL. Thanks, Tom. So any questions, please start with Q, and I'll try to answer them at the end of my session. But please keep the questions coming. So let's start with what is the agenda for today. So today's agenda is basically a very quick introduction to conversational AI, some different options. Why did I choose Alexa and why Drupal? Then some basic terms in terms of Alexa. Then I'll be doing a demo. I'll be rushing through the first few topics in the agenda very quickly because I don't want to bore you with much theory about what conversational AI is. We all know what are the different options, but I'll just be touch basing in them. Yes, just in the slides are set to private. I will be making them public immediately after the. Yes, I'll be doing that. Thanks, Tom. So after the demo, I'll be breaking down the demo and showing you both the Alexa side as well as the Drupal side of it and how Alexa and Drupal are talking to each other. And then, of course, in the end, we'll be having question answer. Disclaimer, no animals were harmed, yes, but the actual disclaimer is that I am not an expert in any of the two things. I have been working with Drupal for so long, but I'm still not an expert. And forget about Alexa, I'm not an expert in Alexa. I just thought that it's fun to do a private, personal project where I can link Alexa to Drupal. And this session is essentially sharing my experiences and nothing else. So first, what is conversational AI? By definition, I think this is a definition from Wikipedia, that conversational AI is a set of technologies behind automated messaging and speech-enabled applications. And the key point here is that they offer human-like interactions between computers and humans. And how does that happen? Because conversational AI can communicate like a human they recognize speech and text, then they try to understand the intent, then they try to decipher the intent into different languages and try to respond to that in a way that mimics the human conversation. I'm sure most of you have interacted with some sort of a conversational AI, whether it is text-based or speech-based. Some examples that you might have seen are Facebook Messenger, even automated WhatsApp messages, Siri, Cortana, Alexa, Google Home. There are so many other options. As I've mentioned earlier, the split is basically around text-based and speech-based. And hence various channels and devices that offer support for these modalities. So the text-based can be SMS and web chat, etc., and the voice-based are basically the smart speakers or the phone support kind of a thing. The most important thing is technically there is not a lot. These two are not a lot different. The text and voice modalities, they are not very, very different, because they finally have to do the same thing. There is one additional step when it comes to the voice modalities, that voice actually converts them into the text, and then it's from there on, it basically the text thing onwards. Yes, thanks, Doug, 14 years. But why is this important? Why are we even talking about voice and conversational kind of AI? And the reason is, these are some of the stats I copied in from some reports. Google reports that 27% of the online global population is using voice search on mobiles. How many of you actually have a Google Home or an Alexa at home? And it is very, very easy. Or how many of them you actually wake up and say, hey Siri, how's the weather going to be today? Especially people like me who are in Melbourne, where weather changes like every 2 hours. Sorry, my Siri got off because I said, hey Siri. So you have 4 in your house, yes. So it's very easy to just wake up and say, hey Siri, how's the weather? Or talking about the other voice interactions that you have at home and talk to them, rather than actually going to a website and checking today's weather or checking today's news, or even things like, yes, and even things like, if you want to hear some music, it's so much easier to just ask the assistant to just play the music, rather than actually going to a website or going to YouTube and playing that. So that is why it is so important that we start talking about these things a lot more. The Gartner study, for example, predicts that 30% of all browsing sessions will include voice search. And these are the kinds of figures that actually make us say that we need to talk about more and more about digital conversation AIs. As our world becomes more digital, conversational AIs become more and more important. So how does the conversational AI work? As I was talking to you about it, if you look at this particular diagram, so on this side we have a human, and on this side we have a machine. So left side human, right side machine. So the human says, hey, I forgot my account password, please help. Because they said it in the voice thing, they have an automated speech recognition, which tries to listen it. Then that converts into a textual format, and then the natural language understanding thing comes in place. And natural language understanding tries to comprehend what the user is saying. And then we go to the dialogue management, because once natural NLU, the natural language understanding, converts into and understands what's happening, then we go to dialogue management, which is essentially possible that the computer asks you a question or something like that. And then once the dialogue management happens and there is something that the computer realizes that this needs to be done or this needs to be asked, then comes the natural language generation, because computer has generated something into text, and then NLG is used to again say that in the proper conversational language. So that's when the AI says, sure, I can help you reset the password. And along this whole thing, there is always a machine learning and deep neural networks happening, which actually help the computer or the AI to keep on improving themselves and making sure that the next time when the user comes in, it does a better job of understanding. So this is the whole, in short, of course, how the conversational AIs actually work. What are the main challenges of conversational AI? Of course, one of the biggest challenges are the languages, dialects, accents, pronunciation, tomato, schedule, etc., etc. Since this is a global thing, I'm sure if I look at only the people in this session, and if I ask them to say just one word, I'm sure there'll be 20 different ways that word will be spoken, because of all these things: language, dialects, accents, pronunciations, etc., etc. So that is one of the biggest challenge for the conversational AIs. Then, of course, we have other things like noisy surroundings, multiple speakers. So something like what just happened. I was talking here, I was talking about Siri, and I said the command, and my phone just activated, even though I was not talking to them. And noisy surrounding does interfere a lot. Of course, then there are how does the AI actually handle unscripted questions and unplanned responses. Tone is very important. Sarcasm is very important. Slangs and jargons are very important. One another issue, a big issue, is security and privacy. How do they deal with the private information, private and personal information that can be stolen? And the third one is, of course, discovery and adoption. Discovery and adoption is not such a big challenge now because people are actually adopting this at a very high pace. And we will not be dealing with any of these challenges. I just thought that it's important that we make sure that we just touch base upon them. So as I said earlier, on a technical level, they divide between the text and voice-based chatbot. Chatbot is not that much. Both rely on artificial intelligence, and they have a simple decision tree structures so that they can carry the conversation with users. And as you were mentioning, there are some examples of voice assistants are Echo or Alexa, Google, Apple Siri, Microsoft Cortana, etc., etc. I'm sure a lot of us here have used Alexa and Google Home and Apple Siri. Not sure of how many of you have actually used Cortana. I haven't, but yeah. So one of the questions, why Alexa, not Google Home? So I did try to analyze both of them when I started thinking about this project. And again, this is a personal project. I was not paid for it. It was more of a let me try this out. It sounds exciting kind of a thing. So I was looking at the documentation for both Alexa and Google Home, and Alexa, the initial documentation is not that great, but once you get over the initial skill barrier, the documentation gets much more cleaner, and it's very, very, very good. Cloud integration, both are pretty much similar. Codeless skill templates are amazing in Alexa. Google is not that great, but the biggest differentiator is, I would say, the current install base, 70 and 25%. But frankly speaking, the biggest reason I went with Alexa, well, I had an Echo Dot at home. I did not want to buy a Google Home just for a pet project. So that's why I just went ahead and, all right, so I'll just take a pause, trying to read some of the comments because one comment is very exciting. I'm at hotel right now and I brought an Echo Dot with me. Not sure what that's. Oh, well, Kelly, it doesn't say anything about you. It's the new normal, I would say. All right, and why Drupal? We're at DrupalCon. But I think the reason why I went with Drupal is because we have inbuilt CMS, we have inbuilt workflows, translations, APIs, and content modeling. And if we are talking about building a site which has some content and then add on Alexa, so FE is already built in. It's just about building that bridge between Alexa. So that was one of the reasons why Drupal. Now let's go ahead and talk a bit about some terminologies. Before I do that, if anybody has a question, please. I don't think I saw any question earlier. So if anybody has something, please go ahead. I'm assuming none yet. Okay, great. So coming to the terminologies, in the Alexa terminologies, so what we want to create is essentially something called an Alexa skill. So Alexa skill is, so when you go to Alexa and say something like, play me this, or tell me quality, sorry, Sean, quality of what? So when we say, Alexa, tell me the temperature. So actually Alexa is talking about picks up one of the Alexa skills, then tries to connect to that skill, and then tells you the temperature. So that is what an Alexa skill is. Within the Alexa skills, and as I will show you when I show the Alexa interface, there are intents. So within that skills, what are the different intents that you want to do? And each intent can be divided into utterances and entities or slots. So utterances is essentially what the voices, what do you expect by the users? What will the users say? And within that utterance, you can have a slot, which is essentially a variable. In our demo, I have created a very, very basic recipe site. I have just 4 recipes in it. So the utterance that I would have is maybe what is the recipe for X? And X here is the entity or a slot. So as I said, utterance is what is the recipe for, and the slot within that is X. And we will extract that X and try to figure out what to do in our Drupal content and then respond accordingly. That is how the whole thing works. It will become a bit more clearer when we actually go to the Alexa interface. But first, let me do a very, very quick demo. Again, a disclaimer, it's a very rough demo. I have not really done a lot of polished stuff. I just have created a skill with some specific intents. All right, let's see if this works, because live demos are notorious. Alexa. Okay, my Alexa decided to die right at this time. Give me a minute, please, guys. Alexa, Drupal cooking.
Yay, it worked. Welcome to Cooking with Drupal. Do you want to search for a recipe using an ingredient? Or do you want to find the ingredients of a recipe? I can also tell you the steps of a recipe.
Did you guys hear that? Alexa, Drupal cooking. All right, wait a minute, please. I'll just go with it again, and I'll show you a couple more things. Alexa, Drupal cooking. Oh, sorry, the curse of Alexa, Drupal cooking.
Sorry.
Alexa, Drupal cooking.
Yay, it worked. Welcome to Cooking with Drupal. Do you want to search for a recipe using an ingredient? Or do you want to find the ingredients of a recipe? I can also tell you the steps of a recipe.
Help.
You can say, what can I make with cheese? And I will list recipes for cheese. You can say, how do I make coconut rice? And I will list steps for making coconut rice. You can say, what are the ingredients for coconut rice? And I will list ingredients for coconut rice.
What can I make with spinach?
Do you want recipes containing spinach?
Yes.
These are the recipes containing spinach. Palak paneer.
How can I make palak paneer?
Do you want recipe for palak paneer?
Yes.
Alrighty then. The recipe for palak paneer is take spinach, wash and drain it. Now boil it. Puree it. In a pan, take oil/ghee and add jeera to it. Add ginger/garlic/green chilies. Add chopped onion and saute till translucent. Now add chopped tomatoes and cook for 5 minutes. Add pureed spinach. Bring to a boil. Add cubed paneer, cottage cheese, serve hot.
What are the ingredients of palak paneer?
Do you want ingredient for palak paneer?
Yes.
Alrighty. The ingredients for palak paneer are cheese 200 grams, tomato 100 grams, spinach 500 grams.
Alexa, quit. Alrighty then, that was my demo, and thankfully it worked, which is to my untrained American ear, it sounds more Aussie than, but all right, maybe it is. All right, so did you see that what we did here? We had a few utterances. So some of the, so let's start with the different, let's try to break this down a bit. And so on the Alexa side of the demo, my skill was essentially Drupal cooking. And then within that skill, I had a few intents. So one of the intents was capture ingredient. So find out the ingredient and give me the options of what can be made out of it. Another intent was find recipe intent. So I could say something like, how do I make palak paneer? And then third intent was, what are the ingredients list for a recipe? So I could say something like, what are the ingredients of palak paneer? So these are the three intents that we are talking about, and I will be showing you now how does the Alexa interface actually look. So give me a minute because I am just I'm exiting full screen because now I'll be showing the Alexa developer console. Can you guys see the Alexa developer console? Thank you. All right, so as we could see here, this is the skill that we were talking about. The first thing that you see here is the skill invocation name. So something that is said after Alexa, which will invoke the skill. So that's what I said, Alexa, Drupal cooking. So this is the skill invocation name. This is the most important thing, of course. And then we have the interaction model. In the interaction model, we have the different intents. And then within the intents, we have different utterances, etc., etc. So there are some intents that are available by default. So something like fallback and cancel and help and stop, etc. are already available by default, but I have gone ahead and created 3 more intents: the capture ingredient, the find recipe, and the recipe ingredient. So if I look at any intent, we can actually add multiple utterances in there. So I have, for example, added 2 utterances. I have something, and the other one is, what can I make with something? And as I mentioned earlier, we can actually say, when I say, if you look at this curly braces, this is actually the slot. So this is an existing slot that I have added. So this acts like a variable in Drupal terms. So when I said I have spinach, or when I said what can I make with spinach, spinach was taken as a variable, and then it went ahead and did something. The other, okay, I see a question, can you create intent or utterances directly from Drupal? I have used a module Alexa only, which doesn't allow me to do that, but there is another module which doesn't have a release yet. I've forgotten the name, Alexa Intents and something. It is supposed to do that, but I was not able to really explore that. Hope that answers your question, Gaurav. So, okay, coming back here. So that was my capture ingredient intent. And when I'm looking at the slots here, I can actually say name ingredient. And then we also have slot types. We can actually put in the slot types here. The other intents are, for example, the find recipe intent. Again, how do I make palak paneer? Or tell me the recipe for palak paneer. Please note, tell me the recipe for. I have written tell me recipe for. So if I say tell me the recipe for, it will not really pick it up. So we have to be very careful when we are creating the utterances. And as you can see here, we can add multiple utterances for the same intent. And this one has another slot, which is recipe. So it takes in the variable, does something magic on the Drupal end, and emits out some output. And the third one I had was the recipe. So what do I need to make palak paneer, or what are the ingredients of palak paneer? This is what the utterance is. The recipe here is again the slot. Okay, before we jump into the code, I'll just quickly go through the website that I have. So if you look at one of the first thing that happened when I invoked, yes, Alexa Skill Manager, Brian, thank you. So when I invoked the skill, it said, yay, it worked. Welcome to Cooking with Drupal, blah, blah, blah. We can actually do that. We can actually put that in content. So if you look at my node here, which says welcome, so I can actually look at this in my code. So what happens in this case is that we are actually not coding the output. The output can be put in as content, and then we are just linking the output from content to the Alexa utterance. Similarly, when I said help, I was able to pick the content from this particular node and go ahead and emit that out. And then I have this recipe which has very simple. This is the method, and then it also has ingredients, all ingredients. So that's why when I say what are the ingredients of palak paneer, it's like cheese 200 grams, tomato 100 grams, spinach 500 grams. This is not an actual recipe, guys. Don't go ahead and make palak paneer like that. It would be atrocious if we make it like that, because there's not even salt. Okay, so these are the basic things that are happening on the Drupal end. So, and what I have done here is, if you look at it, and I'll show you and edit. I'll edit the recipe here. So we have the recipe name. I have not really used preparation time or cooking time or number of servings here, but we can extend the basic demo that I had, and I could have just extended my created more intents, and extended the usage of the skill. These are the ingredients, and then we have the method and all ingredients. So these are all separate fields. So essentially, from the Drupal end, what I'm doing is trying to do a search kind of a thing, or I have created a view for a recipe with an ingredient and emitting the content for that. So that is about, this was the Alexa side of the demo, which I just showed to you. And then on the Drupal side, as I said, we need a D8 install. We need an SSL certificate for the install, because the module doesn't work on HTTP. We have to have HTTPS. Another thing is that the D8 install should be public. We cannot use a local host, for example, for something like that. We have to have a public URL. Then the third requirement was the module, which is the Alexa module that I have used. That module uses the Alexa PHP library as well. And then the last few things is, of course, you have to model your content accordingly. So just try to think about what you want to do, what are the kind of things you want to search across for, etc., etc., and model your content accordingly. And then you'll be needing a custom module, because in that custom module, you will actually be putting in what happens when one of the utterances is done. Okay, so what is the custom module and what is the custom code? The custom module, if you look at the Alexa module, there is already a sub-module available there, which is, I think the name of that sub-module is Alexa demo. You can just copy paste that one. There are only 2-3 files that you need in your module. One is, of course, the info.yaml. Then you need the services .yaml, and basically you need an event subscriber. So I'll just give me a minute and I'll just go through. Okay. Okay, so let's see How do we? Can you guys see my screen now? And can you guys see the code here? Perfect. So I'll just very quickly walk through the code. It's not very clean code. It's not an elegant code. It's ugly, hacked out code, but it will give you an example of what needs to be done. So this is my this is the event subscriber that I have created in my custom module. It is a class request subscriber. It implements event subscriber interface. And this is the event that I am using. So on request, when Alexa event is requested, I have to run this function. Now what happens is this, in this function is the thing that is important. So we have a request object and we have the response object. And there is the dollar type. So this dollar type actually gets me what is the type of the request. As I was saying in my earlier things, there are some default intents that are available on Alexa. So one of the default intent is launch request. Launch request is the moment I say Alexa Drupal cooking, what happens? So this is what happens here. And if you look at the code, it's a ugly code. Please don't use this. But I'm just looking for an NID. I'm loading the node, taking the value of the body, and creating a response based on that value. And the response is essentially wrapped around SSML. SSML is the Alexa speech thing. So I'm just wrapping it around the speak thing, to speak body. And this is what actually does. If you remember, I had shown you my welcome node. That was node number 37, NID 37. I just load that, pick the body, and emit it out. That's all I have been doing. In the other one, the capture ingredients. So basically what happens here is that I'm putting in an ingredient name and I'm asking you what are the recipes that I can make with that ingredient. So in this one, I already have a view which gives me a recipe list and which takes in an argument of ingredient. And as you can see in the code, again, not a very elegant code, that I am, so one important thing here is that I can actually, so the request intent name is capture. If the intent name is capture ingredient, I can actually, get the slot as $ingredient here, because that is the slot name that we had put in here, and I can use that in my view and echo out the responses. In case I don't find any responses, I have something like, whoops daisy, I did not find any recipes containing the ingredient. Another thing that you can see here is that we have the speak wrapper here, but we also have something like interpret as interjection. Somebody, I think, made a comment that Alexa is sassy or Alexa had an attitude, and that is what we can actually do using these things. So when I did an interpret as interjection and said whoops a daisy, it has a different tone to it. Again, if you go to the Alexa documentation, there is a huge list of how we can handle these. So for example, if your Drupal is returning a date and you want Alexa to say the date not as a date, not as a timestamp, but convert it into a proper format and speak accordingly, Alexa has all those things available. Similar thing is happening in the find recipe intent. Again, I look at the recipe name, I try to load the node looking at the title, and if it finds, I go ahead and echo out the body. Very, very simple stuff, not a big deal at all. And this one is the help thing. So when the intent was help, I just loaded node number 38, which was my help node, and echoed out the body value. And when I say something like Alexa, cancel. So, okay, bye, have fun cooking. So this is the very, very basic thing. As I was telling you earlier, I have not done a lot of bells and whistles. very straight, very hacky and quick thing of, this is how we can do. This can be extended like crazy. I can actually go ahead and say, extend it because I have a cuisine in there. So the user can actually go ahead and say something like, we can create an intent for, search based on cuisine. I feel like having Indian. What can I make? And then it gives out a list of all the Indian recipes it has. And then out of that, we pick one based on the ingredients we have, etc., etc. The possibilities are endless, but essentially, essentially that's what we have been talking of. So let me go back to my session presentation now. All right. So broad steps: create an Alexa skill. In the Drupal install, create the content type, some sample content, etc. Install the Alexa module and the library, of course, along with it. Then create a custom module with the request subscriber. Change the endpoint of your skill to point to the Drupal install. And as I said, the Drupal install needs to be public, it needs to be HTTPS, etc. Test using the inbuilt developer tool. The Drupal install actually has a testing as well. Let me show that to you as well. So this was a developer console. There is actually a test tab here. I'm not sure if you can see that. And using that test tab, you can actually test your skill even before you have it. You're integrated with an actual Alexa Echo. So I can actually type here something like Drupal cooking, and it should be responding with something. And then the next step, once you have tested using the inbuilt developer tool, you can actually test using an actual Amazon device. You can, if your skill is still in development mode, you can still log into the Amazon device using the same email ID or same Amazon account as the dev account, and then you can actually see your skill in the developer interface. So I have just, because again, troubleshooting, I face these issues, maybe you will also face them. I cannot see my skill in the Alexa app. The main reason why this might happen is because you have logged into the Alexa app using a different account as compared to your dev account. Log into the Alexa app using the same credentials as your Alexa developer credentials, and you will be able to see your dev skill there, so you can test it out. I can see the skill in the app, but Echo device is not recognizing skill. This mostly happens when there is a language mismatch. I spent days trying to figure it out that what is happening. Why can't I actually see my, when I say something, why is my Alexa actually not responding? And that was because my Alexa skill was in American English, and my Alexa Echo dot thing was on Australian English. And now my Alexa is still saying something. So change the language of the skill, but beware, if you change the language of the skill, you'll lose everything that you have created on the Alexa developer interface. So it would be best that right from day one, you make sure that the skills languages match. Otherwise, you might have a problem. Alexa is not responding to my utterances, or it is giving out some error. So when you're using the test simulator to test the utterances, there is also an option of logging. And as developers, we all know how important logging is and how useful logging can be. So just enable that device logging. It will help you in debugging what are the different problems. One of the problems, as I said, I faced was I had an ampersand NBSP there, and Alexa did not like it. All right, that's all for my presentation. If you have some questions, please. So I'll just scroll through the questions. Have you worked with at all with Alexa account linking? No, Ben. No, Ben. I have not really worked with Alexa account linking. I have not done that. This was just a very basic demo of how I tried to integrate Alexa with Drupal. Nothing more than that. Stuart, thanks for sharing that gist. Yes, this is the gist that we have. Let me scroll through and yes, and see. For everybody who's asking for the module, Stuart Clark has actually shared the gist for GitHub. Please use that. I will add that. I think I have that in my screen, in my slides as well. So once I make my slides public, you will be able to see it there as well. Okay, what are the other questions? I don't really see a lot of questions. Is Google Assistant conversational mode available in your settings? I'm sure that's not a question for me. Can you create intent on Gaurav? I think I already answered your question. How do they stop intent clashes across developers? That's an interesting one. If I'm creating a skill, it actually does not stop me from an intent clash. Brian, I have not really gone to that detail level to know how intent clashes will work. So I'm sorry, but that's I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that one. I think, is that all questions or have I missed something? I don't really see many questions. I think that this is one drawback. You have to scroll through to actually find your questions. If I have missed any of the questions, please go ahead and type them again. And if not, thanks a lot. I hope this was useful, and I hope, for me, it was a fun thing to do. So that's why I went ahead and did that. I hope you liked it. I will be going ahead and sharing my slides now. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye.